Okay. Okay, so the second example, one second. The officer might ask, why did you select this school or university? Often students will erroneously believe that it is easier to get a visa if they apply to a well-known school. So they'll answer the question, I selected it because it's a famous school. The truth might be that applicant has a friend there or family members nearby. Because the school has offered financial aid. Applicants should answer truthfully rather than claiming the school is a famous, especially if it is a school the visa officer has never heard of. So generally, when the visa officials talk about why this university, so instead of you telling them the real answer, you're talking about, well, it's the biggest university of the on this earth, or in this state, or in that city, and even if it is not a famous school. So even if you have your friends, family there, you have to be truthful to the visa officer. Now, when it comes to, is this a serious student? So the great majority of international applicants who have applied for F1 visa are applying for their visa because they sincerely want to complete the course of study. So if you have a real plan of studying in the US, and if visa officers think that you are a serious student, you would get a visa, or else you would not. So in your interview, always make sure that you talk about seriousness. A serious student generally will have a good marks, good English, sufficient resources available to pay his or her education, and a reasonable plan for a career after graduation. So, if you have been good with your academics, you have given good exams and gotten good number, you have sufficient funding, and that's all you have, but you need to tell them that you have all these qualities in you. That's how you could get a visa. Non-serious students again could not get a visa. So who could be a non-serious? Okay. So typical questions when they ask student is, what is the typical weather where that university is located? I'm not sure. How many students are currently in the MBA program in your university? Quite a few. What are the names of any of the professor and where did they get their degrees? I can think of any. How many courses are you required to take to get your degree? I believe quite a lot. I'm not sure. How many years it will take you for you to graduate? I think it says somewhere here on the I-20 form. So if you do not even know that what basic questions that every student should know, that how much is the cost involved, the kind of courses they're going to study. If you haven't even known about this, are you a real serious student? You are not. And that's the way they ask you and they reject you, because they consider you has not done a proper research before even applying to the university, right? Now, does this applicant have sufficient funding? So the immigration law requires that all international students applying for an F1 student visa study in the US must have available liquid assets to pay for the first academic year of study. Now, why this is required by the immigration law? Because the government, the US government, do not want to have students who couldn't even afford, but they would engage in some wrong activities in the US to earn money to pay their tuitions. So they thoroughly check your application. And even if you remember when you applied that you need to show a bank statement to your university in order to get an I-20. Why? Because immigration law tells the university to thoroughly check the documents of the student to make sure that they have sufficient funding. If they do not, you will not get a visa. Okay? So always a question comes in mind. How much could be the bank statement? That always has been a question in students' mind. That I'm not sure. I got liquid assets, liquid funding with me. But how much I could show? Always remember, always remember, when you have a bank statement, you check your I-20, it says that the tuition fee is going to be this much for 9 months or up to 12 months. Your living expense including this going to be this much. Books could be this much. Insurance could be this much. You multiply it by 2, and whatever is your figure is coming, you have to have at least that much in your liquid funding in your bank statement. So giving an example, if a university cost is $10,000 per year, living expenses 5,000 per year, other expenses are 5,000, so you have 20,000 for a year. So you show at least $40,000, because second year what gonna happen? So you gonna show them that as of today I have the enough sufficient funding for my first year as well as second year of living expense. However, now some could say that I don't have $40,000. How could I show it? Means I'll not get my visa? No. Show them at least the first year living expense as well as tuition fee, and tell them that the coming money is coming every month. So if your father is earning 20 lakh per month or per year, right? Or 24 lakh per month or 12 lakh per month per year, then you could show that my dad is going to sponsor me in next month, every month. It could be in the next year. So the minimum requirement is that you at least show them the first year of living expense plus first year of tuition fee. But the maximum you could show that the first year and second year of living expense plus the tuition fee. Okay. So now the last point, which is the most important point here. Does this student have sufficient ties to the home country that will ensure his or her return after graduation? Why do they want you to come back home? As I said in my previous slide, that students must show that they have some plan of getting back home because they are going on a temporary visa. So if you're going on a temporary visa, you got to talk about what plans you have when you come back home. Okay. So how to prove? Now everybody would say, well, sir, I'll go, I'll study, I'll come back. Why you would come back? I'm not sure, but I'll come back. I could guarantee this. No, you need to talk about certain ties which you are bound to. So family, economic, employment, social, and emotional ties. So how could be a family tie? A family tie because we all have family, right? Brother, sister, siblings, our cousin, uncle, aunt, your parents. So we can always talk about it would be wonderful to spend my entire life with my family, but as of today, I need this degree. For this, I really need to get away from them, but there would be a day when I'll come back home, have a good life, work in the top MNC, and at the same time, living and taking care of my family. How could be it economical or employment ties? Because if you have been working, having 1 or 2 years of experience working in any company, you have been earning 25,000, 30,000 rupee per month, but once you complete your MBA or masters from US, you would come back and would work in the same or any other company. What's gonna happen? You might get 4 times better salary than the last time, right? So that's how your life get changed. So that you could talk about. So every student needs to research about if they are going for, let's say, in healthcare, okay, strategic management, logistic management, international business. So you will need to see that what kind of jobs are offered to those managers, those upper level management, where they could come and work and get a good job, good designation, astronomical salary. Okay, and then the social and the emotional ties. So the social and emotional ties is you all have friends, you have been living in Indian culture, you have people, you have neighbors, you have things around you which you never want to forget, right? That's your culture, that your values. So if you do not want to forget that, why are you going in a new culture? Because you want to learn. You want to learn in a diversity culture, come back home and have been in the culture, you will be in the same culture. So the important type where you could talk about your ties and coming back plans is family, economic, employment, social and emotional ties. Okay. Now students who might got rejected recently or are going to attend and sometimes even answer but do not get the visa. What do they get? They get 214B. So if in this webinar, if I have student and I would like to know from them when they have gotten the 214B, what did they understood out of it. But students who would be going, if you do not get it, you will get a 214B, and I'm going to talk about what 214B is. So to qualify for non-immigrant visa, applicant must meet the requirements of U.S. immigration law, which I just talked about. But failure to do so will result in a refusal of a visa under section 214B. So there is only one section 214B when your visa could be rejected, and there is one section which is 221G where your visa could be sent in an administration process. So the 214B is a section of the Immigration Nationality Act 291, and that has a burden of proof. Now what does burden of proof is? So what this means is that the visa officer is told to believe that you are going to immigrate to the US. So it will be your job to convince him or her that you do not intend to do immigrate, but instead are wanting to go to the US and study for your masters or bachelors, so you can then return to your home country and then have skills to enable you to get a better paying jobs. So even if you are going on a student visa, they considered you is you are never ever going to come back. You are going to be a potential immigrant there. So it's your job to convince them, whether they ask you a couple of questions or they don't. But you need to talk about why would you come back home. That's why I told you that this is the most important point of the visa. Even if the students never talk about coming back plans, thinking that because visa officer didn't ask me, why should I say? Then you get a 214B because you didn't convince the visa officer that you would be coming back home, but you were thinking that visa officer will understand my thoughts or my feelings that I'll come back home. For that reason, this is important for every student to know that visa officer, while talking to you, are thinking that you are going to be a potential immigrant. Okay, so make sure that you convince them about your coming back plans. That's it. So what documents to take? Sometimes students do good in their visa, having good communication skills, but sometimes they don't even know that what kind of documents that they should travel with, right? And I'm going to send you all this information and even the recording for your pursual so that you could just go ahead and check this again, or you could be in touch with Kavita and she would be sending you more information about it. Okay, so recommended documents to take to the visa interview is I-20 and the admission letter from the university. So take the entire documents which you got from the university. Okay, receipt which shows that you or someone for has paid the CV's fee. Now I'm not sure if you guys do know or do not know about the CVs, but there's a CV's fee is required for you to make your visa valid for the time you're going to stay in the US. A DS-160 form, a visa application fee, your sponsor's bank documents. Even if you are listening to me and checking this, make sure that you write this down because I'm taking the names of it. So if you have a pen and a paper, please do write that down for me. So the I-20 letter, a CV's fee, DS-160, visa application fee, your sponsor's bank documents. If you have a sponsor, a letter from sponsor, that is we called in India affidavit of support. Documents explaining the source of money shown in the bank statement. So just do not carry your documents, but carry your CS certificate or anything which proves that this has been in your bank. It's not that you've borrowed it from somewhere. Transcripts of your prior education. So if you have done your diploma, bachelor's, 12th, or already a master's, take all the original documents of your previous academic education. Even you should travel with couple of brochures or catalog of university or any information which you could share with the visa officer. Okay. Now that's a very good point. If you have information regarding your plan of for employment when you return to your home country after you graduate. This could be a letter from your employer promising you a job, or could be that the possible job which you could get. Why this is important? Because if you show this to the visa officer that I already have a job, but all I need is an MBA, and which I want to do it from US, you could be considered as this is one of the employment tie which you proved that you have this document with you. GRE, GMAT, IELTS, TOEFL score report. It should be original, but copies are also acceptable. Okay. So the recommendation is that you should take your original documents that shows ownership in home country, letter of recommendation, certificate of formal proof of your academic qualification. This is how visa consulate looks like. So there could be different windows, and you could be asked, you are sitting in a waiting list, and you would be standing in front of the visa officer. So you guys make sure that if you have ever gone to railway station and to the inquiry session where you see a mirror, a person is sitting inside, and you are talking to them, they have a mic, and you have a speaker, you have a mic, they have a speaker. This is how a consulate look like. Okay. So you could be sent to go to window number one, and then you get there, and this is how in this picture you could see that the visa officer is asking question to the student. Okay, student and answering all the question, and you could see the mic and other stuff there. Now in this picture you could see that the visa officer is sitting and the student is standing. Student has a smiling face. So that's one of the key to success when you are talking to the visa officer without any hesitation. And yes, if you answer them good, this is how your visa going to look like. Once your visa is approved, you get this stamping in 3 to 5 days on your passport, and your passport to be delivered to the nearby courier center which you have. Now, this is very important. Again, you guys, the one who are sleeping, please wake up, because this is the last session going on for the visa Q&A, and I want to make sure that you all understand, because majority of question going to be asked, and this I already have that for you on the slide. Okay, so visa Q&A. What kind of question they can ask? The one who are on the phone and the one who are listening and couldn't see my slide, you guys can write it down. Okay, why do you want to go to school in the US? Or generally they ask, why US? This could be the first question they ask. Okay, and I'm going to talk to you about, and in a video, that how you could answer that. For which school are you applying? Major you are interested in. If the major you're applying to is a different than what you have studied in your bachelor's. So bachelor's you did BCom, now going for MBA, MBA in international business or healthcare. If you have been doing your engineering, electrical, going to IT, man, why are you going there? So how did you find about the school for which you are applying? So that's a very important question. Sometimes people say, well, that was just because of study metro. Oh, I met an agent there back in Delhi, and who got me all this information. You don't have to speak like this. You need to know that how did you get it, in case if you have researched a lot about the university. Please tell us why you picked this school and how you intend to use the degree you obtained from the school. What other schools did you apply to or research? Why do they want to know that they have applied to different schools? Because they want to check that whether you are serious or not. Why did you decide not to continue with any of this school? Why are you not going to school in your home country? Why you want to go to US? How is a degree from this school going to better your economic position? What kind of employment opportunity will be available for you when you return to your home country? How much is your or your sponsor bank statement is? How are you going to fund your second year of school? So as I told you that time, okay, do you have any relatives in the US? Any contact person in the university you know of? What is your dream job after you graduate from this school? Do you have documentation proof of where the money came from supporting your bank statement? Which year did you pass out from your bachelor's degree? Your GRE, GMAT, IELTS, TOEFL score sheet? What are your future plannings? If you tell them everything in line, your visa would be approved. But let me take you a couple of questions here because I couldn't take on webinar. It will be 3 hours then for me. But what important question they ask, and I'm gonna tell you how could you answer them. Okay, why do you want to go to school in the US? So certainly they want to know why this university, why this country, why US. Now when you go over internet, you find many students are answering a very same answer to the visa officer, which is, well, I'm going to US because US considers the top advanced country of this world. I'm going to study in one of the university which will change my life, and I'm going to have this life, and I'm going to this. Trust me, visa officer never ever like these answers. Why? Because they know that you have read it somewhere over the internet, and you're coming and just copying and pasting in front of them. How it could be different, how it could be, you know, effective, it could be positive, it could give an impression to the visa officer. If you talk about why did you select US, why US, that means what made you to choose US for your higher education. When you say your plans to the visa officer, they like that. While you're saying that, well, I'm going to US because US is a high academic environment, is one of the best destination for education. I want to see Obama someday. That's the reason I've chosen to go to US. No, talk about what you gotta do with US. How you see your life could change. So some examples for students who are going for MBA information system. Well, I've been studying in India and I've got 1 to 2 years of experience working in, and then I've decided to do my higher education from US. Of course, US gives you a diverse environment culture where I learn not only in the class but out of the class. But this is of course going to be my last degree, and I wanna learn those managerial skills and knowledge which I could implement when I come back home and work in one of the top MNCs in India. What you did, you talked about yourself that I have done this, I have been working in this, and that's how I plan to go US for my higher education, and because I expect something from this. Second question, why this university? So when I told you that they want to check whether you are a serious student or not, you have to be proactive and talk about, well, I'm going to XYZ university, but I have also got admit from this. Did they ask you? No. But why are you telling them? Because you want to make sure that they understand that you are a serious student. And because they want to know that how many other university you have applied for, you have saved one question because you have already answered them. It does not mean that for every question you are enlarging your answer and telling them in 557 lines. But you have to use your presence of mind to talk about something which proves them. You're not over smart, but you know what they have in mind. So why this university? Well, I'm going to this university, talk about course curriculum, talk about the location. That means the weather is going to be like, the university class size, how the university education system work, history of university, and then you talk about other things happening in the university. So this all basic information, even the professor's profile, which you should learn. Now, student even do not know about university, go and attend the visa interview. They never get the visa because they know that you have known nothing about the university before coming to the visa interview. So even if you go on sale, summer and spring, go to Shoppers Stop and buy things, you check everything there to buy two shirts, three pants, one shoe pair of shoe. But when you are going to spend $40,000 for as a part of your tuition fee, another 30,000 dollars for your higher education, but you do not even know where are you going, where you're going to stay. Do they offer an on-campus, off-campus? Who's gonna teach you? What did you learn about it? If you have nothing learned, go back home. I don't want to give you the visa. But if you know this, certainly they want to give you a visa. Who's gonna sponsor you? Of course my parents, but if you have anybody, your sibling, your brother, your sister, which is younger than you and already doing education, make sure that you bring them more funding, show them more funding. If you say I've got 20 lakh in my account, but I've got my three siblings, three brothers, sisters who are also studying, they will reject you because they know how your parent going to sponsor their education. If you become something, they'll become nothing. But you show that I've got 80 lakh in my parents' account and they have saved 20, 20, 20 for each. That's how you're gonna do it. So the best question which they ask you, why US? Why this university? How much bank statement you have? What kind of exams you gave so far? What do you expect from this degree? That's it. If you know this, visa approved. Okay? Now visa approved is nothing but you still have a risk hanging on your neck. Why? Because US port of entry process is also as equivalent, as important as getting a visa. Always remember, having a stamp of visa on your passport is not everything. You will really need to cross the border. Have you listened about recent deportation happened from Hyderabad, from Air India for universities like NPU, SVU, and a recent one has happened for UNNJ, University of Northern New Jersey. Why this is happening? Because you guys need to make sure that you travel with entire documents and you know, because this is going to be your another visa interview at the port of entry. So make sure when you get your visa, report us, tell us, share your traveling plans, ask us which port of entry you should go. Do not think that I've got the visa, now I don't need anybody. I've got my family, friends who will take care of everything. Okay? So take a proper advice from an expert before you go. Why? Because SCVP monitors the entry of 28 million non-immigrant visitors to the US every year. And that's a data probably since a year, but it could be 35 million non-immigrant this year. Preparing before traveling, you may apply for F1 student visa. So when can you apply? You can apply 120 days prior of your start date, but you cannot enter US a month before. So please make sure, even if you are going for fall intake, you could go for visa interview today, but you cannot travel 30 days before what is mentioned a date on your I-20. Okay, now I'm not going to talk to you about what documents required as the entry US, because as soon as you get your visa, please report us, tell us that you have gotten the visa. Now what should do next, and we will tell you how you could get there, what documents you should travel with. So again, just to recap, what could be the F1 visa tips to in order to get succeed. And I am sure that I am about to finish now, so even if you have any question, you could just write down on question box. I haven't seen any question yet, so please, I want to give time to students to talk to me, share their questions. So I'm seeing one hello, and hello is hello, but I need your questions to answer. Okay. So the visa tips is gonna be ties to home country. Talk about why you would be coming back home. Be concise and confident with your answer. Speak for yourself. Maintain a positive, maintain a positive attitude. Convincing in employment, future plans. Maintain a positive attitude. You have to be convincing about getting back home. Employment is future plannings. That what kind of better job you can have. When I say speak for yourself, that speak for yourself because I want to tell this, that do not come up with a story in front of a visa officer. Tell us what real planning you have. What did come in your mind that you have applied to a US school, and what you thought of? What kind of life you have envisioned, you have measured, you have thought of that this is what I want to be like. Share your dreams with the visa officer. That would be more convincing rather than asking someone, can you tell me what should I answer? So prepare your own answers. And prepare, that means think why you thought of. So do a 2 minute or 5 minutes of meditation and think of what I thought of, why I thought of going to US. And answer those things instead of creating a story and telling them. And because everybody look for a good job as a later part of your life, so talk about future plannings, employment, how your life gonna be good. Okay. So this were the visa tips. I'm gonna talk to all of you one on one when you book your visa slot. But there's one I could show you. This is the video which I made today. So I think you guys gonna like it. But it has all the basic information. By the time, I would appreciate if all of you could write me a question here on the question chat box. Okay, so I'm getting this response that you are unable to see the questions. I mean, sorry, the video. So I'm gonna take your questions, please. Okay, so let me start because I'm gonna make sure that in 5 minutes I will wrap up everything. So whatever question you have, please do write here before we say bye bye for the weekend. Okay, do we get any working hours for F1 visa? I'm not sure this question. Do we get any working hours for F1 visa? If you're talking about post working, when you get there you could work for the part of the full time, but do we get any working hours for F1 visa? I truly did not understand your question, so you could just write me back. I'm the only son, I don't have property in my name, nor has any company promised to take me after my graduation, so what tie should I give? Okay, I am the only son is the biggest tie. Okay, if you are the only son, it means that you have a great responsibility of your parents at the later part of stage. Okay, so today you wanna get away from them to have your good life, and by the time you come back, then you, because you are the only son, you have a great tie to take care of them. So that's the biggest tie which you have, which is nothing but the family ties. So now there is no company has promised you a job, so that's not very common that everyone get the job offer or job promising letter. But you need to talk about what research you have made. So whatever you are doing, whatever your background is, and something which you're going to study there after education, what are the current scenario there about job is? What kind of job and what kind of salary are they making? And if they are making today, what it be after 2 to 5 years? So everybody who also wants to know about how could I check that forecasting of IT or MBA after 3 to 5 years gonna be how much in the US? Go to BLS Bureau of Labor Statistics .gov or org. So BLS will tell you that how IT is gonna be after 10 years, how healthcare is gonna be after 10 years. Similarly, you talk about in India, you haven't got a job promise letter from anybody, but there are huge opportunities in the IT company and they look for US graduates. Okay, this is how you could show. So, next question, Rajendra Kumar. How should a dependent answer and what kind of question he will she be facing? First of all, dependent, that's a very good thing. Dependent can also go for visa. Anybody, everybody who's going for visa interview at a later part of stage, you could take your family, your son, daughter, or your spouse. Okay, although they couldn't work as of today, but this rule can change pretty soon. So, so what spouse should say? Spouse should also talk about first thing about spouse, that means dependent visa should always know that whoever has gone for the visa, on F1 visa, what course, what details of the university where someone is going to stay or already staying, all those information. The dependent should always talk in a very similar way what an F1 student is talking, that she is making sure or she will make sure that his spouse comes back home, stay, because we got the family, we got great opportunities of job. So everything which what an F1 student is doing or will do is what a dependent should know, and every question what how the actual applicant is answering, dependent should answer. Okay, so Mohammed. So visa first attempt, second attempt petition was denied. Second time I've done very well. Finally he asked you, you know why you denied last time? I said no, honestly. Again he asked, you don't know. I said no, maybe visa officer not satisfied. Straight away he given blue paper and was best of luck for you next time. Actually, what should I reply for that question? Trust me, the 214B is everything as far as the visa denial is concerned. But if you have not gotten the visa with the very first or the second attempt or the first attempt, how did you go and do best next time until you do not even sure that why I've got rejected this time? Even they didn't tell you, but you need to come up with something which you think that you were lacking, and you could talk about those as you have fulfilled those things this time. That means you talk about that probably I was not able to convince the visa officer that why would I come back home, but after my first rejection I have worked on it. I have researched a lot about the kind of job I'm going to get, and that's how I have come with the better answers, new information, best information. And you could email me your information, and I'm gonna talk to you more on this, Mr. Junaid. Okay, Shyam. Will they consider a student serious if they don't have a GRE or the IELTS? Of course they would. GRE, GMAT, IELTS, TOEFL is also a, I could say, a measurement tool of measuring whether a student is serious or not. But it is not only the tool to show that if you have a GRE or IELTS you are serious. But if you don't, you are non-serious. You need to show what we spoke about in this webinar to the visa officer. That's it. If you couldn't appear for GRE IELTS, tell them why you couldn't appear. So let's say if you have a UK degree, let's say, I'm just giving an example, then you're really not supposed to write IELTS again because you have studied in the English speaking country. So that does not mean that you are not serious. So student, if you haven't appeared for GRE, if you haven't appeared for IELTS, it is recommended that you should appear. But if you have not, no worries. Talk about seriousness in other sense. Think about university. Talk to the professors. Talk to the international or grad or undergrad advisor. Okay. How can I convince visa officer that I didn't give my GRE but I got admit on IELTS? See, there is nothing to convince if they have seen your I-20. That means you got admitted, right? Without GRE plus IELTS. Again, as I previously said to Mr. Sam Rosario, that you need to much bother about if you have no GRE. Talk about how other good you have things. That means good in your academics, good with your IELTS, good with researching the university, future plannings, best life which you could ever get, research about the jobs opportunities. You could easily convince. The college which applied to doesn't require a GRE or IELTS, so will that be problem? See, don't let it go to the GRE is not required by the university, and I'll tell you why, Miss Nidhi. Nidhi, you will need to understand, and other students, never ever do this that you talk about someone else, right? We loved it, our culture loved it. Always, when we do a mistake, we talk about someone because of someone else it has happened, or else it might have not happened. Somebody didn't tell me, or I would have done this, I would have done that. Visa officer hate this because their culture hates it. We do not want to tell them that the school does not require. That's the reason I didn't write, because they know the reality. Because of you did not want to write, you have applied to the university which ask you not to write it, right? You have not written the GRE, and that's the reason you applied to the university. But if you'll tell that the GRE is not required by the university, why it would not be required? So instead of telling them about the university, tell them why you couldn't write it. It might possible you have written some other exams that could be Indian exams and you've scored well, but you've changed your mind and now going to US for higher education. You know you have no GRE, but you are good with your quant, you are good with your verbal, with your English. So there is no problem when your university does not even ask for it, but you know that what answer you should speak. Instead of telling about the university, instead of telling about something else, you say that I couldn't write because of this reason. You have to maintain a positive attitude. Remember. Why don't you tell us something about work and study? Okay, see, this is a visa information, so I'm not here for counseling, but I could certainly give you a counseling whenever we have a one-on-one session. Okay, or you could talk to your respective counselor, who would give you more information about it. Now, why? If you would have asked me like this, why don't we tell, or why can't we say, or can we say something about work and study to the visa officer? So my answer is gonna be no, because you are not going there for work. Your primary opportunity, your primary purpose is to study there, because you are going on a study visa. If you talk about much about work or any other thing, you are again considered as a non-serious student. So if visa officer thinks that you are going for work and study, how about you apply to an H1B then? So you have to stick with your study plans. Talk more about study and less or nothing about other opportunities which you can get. Okay, Mr. Agrawal. Hi Abby, it is a very informative session. I have recently begun my immigration process for Canada and wish to inform that the process may take 12 months to complete. Once I get a PR right of Canada, I gotta get a selection with a good US university. What are the chances of me getting a I-20 visa F category visa for US considering the man apply? See, this is a very critical question, which I would certainly would like to talk to you, Navang Agrawal, one on one about this. But if it is gonna take you 1 year of time, I need to check with you whether it would be for a year. I mean, you wanna apply by the time or after that. But I could definitely would like to answer that. So I'm gonna share my phone number to you, and you could just give me a call, or I'm gonna take your phone number and I'm gonna give you a call. Okay. Okay, also you mentioned something about the source of money. Where will I get that from? I have only got bank statement. So when you have a bank statement, you already have a history, right? So a bank statement where there were 20 lakh, it has been in back in March, April it was 20 lakh, May you are going for visa, it is 20 lakh. Get the 3 month of bank statement with the transaction history. That's the source. That's the source that you have this amount as you've been working or your sponsor has been working, and that's the proof that you have been maintaining that since 3 4 months. Okay, Rajendra says thank you. Okay, how can a visa officer assess that I'm a serious student if I don't use GRE? I think I answered that to you, sir. Sir, I have a 5 bands in IELTS. She does. So does it make visa interview difficult for me? Tushar, you really need to be good with your English. You really need to come up with great English communication speaking, no matter whether you have a 5 band. Even if you have 7.5 bands, and even if you could not speak in front of visa officer, you wouldn't get the visa. If you have 5 bands, check with your university if they offer you an ESL. You could talk to the visa officer and tell them the truth is that I got the 5 band, but I still want to learn English. For this, the university where I'm going, I may take the ESL classes there. Okay, Sham. Thanks a lot, Abby. Help Lord. Have a good day. Navang Agrawal, please share your phone number. I will do so. Thank you so much, everyone. I am going to be available to talk to you guys one on one. I've taken as many as possible questions here today because the time does not even allow me to talk to you much about now. So, thank you so much for joining me here. I'm gonna talk to everyone, and whatever question you have, you could always write me at abby@studymatter.com. I'm gonna answer all the question you have in your mind. And for your visa interview, all the best from Study Metro team. Thank you.